Chosen one, listen carefully. Before you ever questioned what happened, before you ever wondered why the connection shifted, heaven had already recorded the moment your soulmate realized something they had never encountered before. They were not shocked by your beauty. Not by your words. Not even by your loyalty. They were shocked by your depth. By the way you loved without bargaining. By the way you gave without demanding proof. By the way you remained whole while offering your heart. And what you did not see in that moment was that your love confronted parts of them that were still unhealed. It stirred what they had buried. It awakened what they were not prepared to carry. You thought love was flowing naturally. But in the unseen realm, there was movement. Because chosen ones do not love casually. When you love, you expose. When you love, you mirror. When you love, you reveal to another soul the gap between who they are and who they could become. That is why your soulmate felt both comfort and discomfort around you. They felt seen. And being seen is powerful. But it is also terrifying for someone who has spent years hiding from themselves. You did not chase them. You did not control them. You did not demand that they rise to your level. Yet your emotional discipline spoke louder than words ever could. There were moments they studied you quietly. Moments when they wondered how you remained steady when things felt uncertain. They expected emotional chaos. They expected pressure. They expected insecurity. Instead, they encountered calm strength. That strength unsettled them. Because most people love from fear. You loved from alignment. Most people love to secure an outcome. You love to honor truth. And truth carries weight. That weight pressed against their unresolved fears. It confronted their avoidance. It challenged their comfort zones. And they did not have language for what they were feeling. Chosen one, you must understand something. When someone is shocked by your love, it is not because you did too much. It is because you revealed too much without trying. You revealed that love can be patient without being passive. You revealed that affection can exist without dependency. You revealed that depth does not have to come with drama. They had never seen that before. Their past experiences taught them that love was loud, reactive, unstable. You disrupted that pattern simply by being emotionally anchored. And when patterns are disrupted, confusion often follows. You wondered if you should have said more. If you should have done less. If you should have tried harder or stepped back sooner. But what you do not yet see is that your consistency created a mirror they could not ignore. Even in silence, they felt your steadiness. Even in distance, they felt your presence. Even when communication slowed, the imprint of how you loved remained. That imprint did not fade. It unsettled them in ways you cannot measure. Because when a chosen one loves, it leaves a reference point in the soul of the other person. And here is what you have not fully understood yet. The shock was not temporary. It planted something. It initiated a comparison they will carry into every future interaction. They may try to distract themselves. They may try to rationalize what happened. They may even attempt to convince themselves that the depth was exaggerated. But their spirit knows otherwise. Their spirit encountered something real. And real love does not disappear from memory. It echoes. It lingers. It waits. You did not lose power in that connection. You revealed it. And the way you handled uncertainty, the way you maintained dignity, the way you refused to collapse into fear, those choices are still speaking. Even now. Even in silence. Even if you cannot see movement yet. But what I am about to reveal next will change how you interpret every delay, every pause, and every moment of distance that followed. Chosen one, what you interpreted as distance was not emptiness. It was processing. When your soulmate stepped back, it was not because your love lacked value. It was because it carried too much clarity. You loved in a way that removed excuses. You loved in a way that made indecision uncomfortable. And when someone is not ready to confront their own inconsistency, they often retreat from the mirror that reflects it. That mirror was you. You did not accuse. You did not expose them publicly. You simply remained aligned. And alignment is confronting to anyone who has lived in emotional contradiction. You must understand the spiritual mechanics behind what unfolded. When two souls connect and one carries higher emotional awareness, the connection does not remain neutral. It activates growth pressure. Your steadiness created pressure without force. Your boundaries created accountability without arguments. Your calm created contrast against their inner turbulence. And contrast reveals imbalance. They were not only feeling love. They were feeling the weight of becoming better in order to stand beside you. That realization startled them. Because loving you was not casual. It required maturity. There were moments when they sensed they could either rise or retreat. And rising meant facing their own fears of inadequacy. Rising meant abandoning old habits. Rising meant choosing emotional responsibility. Retreating felt easier. Retreating allowed them to avoid the internal work. And so you saw hesitation. You saw confusion. You saw inconsistency. But what you did not see was the internal conflict. They were not confused about your value. They were conflicted about their capacity. There is a difference. And that difference matters. Chosen one, you never lowered yourself to make them comfortable. That decision was pivotal. You could have reduced your standards. You could have chased reassurance. You could have adjusted your truth to fit their readiness. But you did not. And heaven took note of that restraint. Because restraint is strength in disguise. When you resisted the urge to over-explain, you preserved your dignity. When you refused to beg for clarity, you protected your worth. When you chose silence over emotional reaction, you demonstrated authority over your own heart. Authority unsettles those who expect chaos. They were shocked because your love did not come with manipulation. It did not come with ultimatums. It did not come with desperation. It came with freedom. And freedom is powerful. But freedom also removes excuses. You did not cage them. You gave them space. And in that space, they were left alone with their own reflection. That reflection whispered questions they had avoided for years. Am I ready? Am I capable? Can I meet this depth? Those questions echoed louder than your words ever did. There is something else you must see clearly. The delay that followed was not random. It exposed whether the foundation could support the weight of what you carried. Real love is not sustained by attraction alone. It is sustained by alignment. And alignment requires both souls to be awake. You were awake. You were aware. You were emotionally regulated. They were still fluctuating between growth and avoidance. And when growth feels intimidating, avoidance disguises itself as logic. They told themselves stories. They justified pauses. They rationalized distance. But deep within, they knew the truth. Your love required evolution. You did not fail. You triggered expansion. Whether they chose to embrace that expansion or run from it was never within your control. And I never designed it to be. You were not sent to fix them. You were sent to reveal what was possible. That revelation alone shifted their trajectory. Even if they resist it now, the imprint remains. Even if pride masks vulnerability, the memory persists. But what you are about to discover next will reveal why the unseen realm allowed this shock to happen in the first place, and why your role in this story was far more strategic than emotional. Chosen one, you have asked for deeper understanding, and now I will uncover what was happening beyond what your eyes could see. This was never merely about romance. It was about refinement. When I allowed your soulmate to encounter the way you loved, it was not accidental. It was strategic. I was revealing to them a standard they had never known, and I was revealing to you the measure of your own spiritual maturity. You were not loving blindly. You were loving from formation. And formation does not happen in comfort. It happens in tension. You wondered why I did not immediately stabilize the connection. Why I allowed silence. Why I permitted distance. But remember what is written, as iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another, Proverbs 27 verse 17. Sharpening creates friction. Friction produces heat. Heat exposes weakness in the metal. Your connection created friction not to destroy, but to reveal. You were already tempered through prior trials. They were not yet fully strengthened. When two metals of different strength collide, the weaker one feels the strain first. That strain is what startled them. I was not testing your worth. I was revealing your weight. And weight in the spirit is measured by how you carry love under pressure. You carried it without collapsing. You carried it without turning cold. You carried it without surrendering your boundaries. That composure did not go unnoticed in heaven. It aligned with what is written, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it, Proverbs 4 verse 23. You guarded your heart without closing it. That balance is rare. Many either build walls or abandon themselves. You did neither. You remained open and anchored. Your soulmate felt that anchoring. It confronted their instability. And instability, when exposed, reacts in one of two ways: it matures or it withdraws. They oscillated between both. There were days when they felt inspired by you. And there were days when they felt intimidated. Because when someone encounters a love that is steady, it forces a decision. Rise into alignment or retreat into comfort. That internal war was louder than any conversation you had together. Do not mistake their hesitation as indifference. Often hesitation is the sound of growth resisting transformation. But I am not a God of confusion. For God is not the author of confusion, but of peace, 1 Corinthians 14 verse 33. If confusion surrounded the connection, it was not originating from you. It was rising from the areas within them that had not yet surrendered to healing. Your peace exposed that. Your emotional discipline magnified it. You became a living demonstration of what secure love looks like. And here is the part that may surprise you. I allowed them to be shocked because shock awakens awareness. Comfort keeps people asleep. You were not sent to keep them comfortable. You were sent to awaken their capacity. Awakening is disruptive. It shakes foundations. It unsettles old narratives. They had to confront whether they were willing to become the version of themselves that could stand beside someone who loves as you do. That confrontation is sacred. It is also terrifying for a soul that has avoided accountability. Chosen one, you must also recognize that while they were being confronted, you were being elevated. You were learning that your love does not need validation to remain pure. You were learning that your steadiness is not dependent on reciprocation. You were learning that your identity is rooted in me, not in outcome. That is why you did not spiral. That is why you did not chase. That is why you could step back without hatred. Your security came from alignment with me, not attachment to them. But this is only the surface of what was orchestrated. Because the shock they felt was not just emotional, it initiated a spiritual ripple that is still unfolding. And what that ripple is preparing will either solidify this connection in a transformed way, or redirect you towards something even greater than you imagined. Chosen one, let me speak to you in a way that feels closer now. Not thunder. Not fire. Just truth. You've replayed certain moments in your mind, haven't you? The way they looked at you when you didn't react. The pause in their voice when you stayed calm instead of arguing. The subtle shift when they realized you weren't going to chase them. Those were not small moments. Those were turning points. They were used to emotional noise. Raised voices. Dramatic exits. Passive-aggressive silence. Instead, you gave them steadiness. And steadiness can feel unfamiliar when someone has only known instability. You did not love perfectly. You loved sincerely. And sincerity is disarming. It strips away games. It leaves nothing to hide behind. They couldn't label you as toxic. They couldn't accuse you of manipulation. They couldn't say you were too much or not enough. You were balanced, present, self-aware. And when someone meets a love that doesn't come with chaos, they're forced to look at the chaos inside themselves. That's uncomfortable. Sometimes it's easier to step away from a mirror than to clean what it reflects. There were nights when they thought about reaching out just to feel your calm again. There were moments when they missed how safe your presence felt. But they also felt the pressure of your emotional intelligence. You noticed patterns. You saw inconsistency. You didn't ignore red flags just to keep the connection alive. And that told them something silently: this person will not tolerate half-effort. That realization can feel heavy to someone who has lived on half-effort for years. You have to understand, your strength wasn't loud. It was quiet. And quiet strength is the most unsettling kind. When you didn't overreact, they couldn't call you dramatic. When you didn't beg, they couldn't feel powerful. When you stepped back with grace, they couldn't frame you as desperate. You left them without a script. And when someone loses the script they usually use, they feel exposed. Exposure feels vulnerable. Vulnerability feels risky. So sometimes they retreat, not because they don't care, but because they care and don't feel ready. You might still wonder, if they felt that much, why didn't they choose me clearly? That question has lived in your chest quietly. But clarity requires courage. And courage requires readiness. You were ready for depth. They were still negotiating with fear. You cannot force someone to rise. You can only reveal what rising looks like. That's what you did. You showed them what emotionally mature love feels like. You showed them that boundaries don't mean rejection. You showed them that silence can be respectful, not manipulative. And here's something very human I need you to hear: it's okay that part of you still cares. It's okay that memories surface sometimes. Caring does not make you weak. Missing does not erase your growth. What matters is that you didn't abandon yourself in the process. You didn't shrink to fit their comfort. You didn't become louder to demand attention. You stayed you. That's rare. And even now, that consistency is echoing inside them. But something is shifting. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Quietly. Awareness has been settling in. Comparison has been happening. Reflection has been unavoidable. And soon, a realization will surface in them that they can no longer ignore, a realization about what they almost mishandled, and what it will cost them if they do not respond differently this time. Chosen one. The realization that has been forming inside them is no longer distant. It has been building slowly, quietly, like light entering a room at dawn. At first it was subtle. A passing thought. A comparison they tried to dismiss. A memory that returned at inconvenient times. But now it is becoming clearer. They are beginning to understand that what you offered was not ordinary affection. It was stability. It was emotional safety. It was alignment. And those things are rare. They have encountered other conversations since you. Other energies. Other attempts at connection. But something feels different. Where there is inconsistency, they remember your steadiness. Where there is drama, they remember your calm. Where there is pressure, they remember your restraint. And comparison is a powerful teacher. You did not compete. You did not fight for position. You simply showed up as you are. And now your absence speaks just as loudly as your presence once did. This is the part you could not see while you were inside the connection. Your love created a standard. Not a standard of perfection, but of health. You demonstrated what it looks like to care without controlling. To desire without demanding. To communicate without attacking. That demonstration did something permanent. Even if pride delayed acknowledgement, the imprint remained. You became a reference point. And reference points do not disappear. But listen carefully, because this is where your power must remain grounded. Their realization does not mean you abandon your discernment. Awareness on their side does not require desperation on yours. If they rise, they must rise fully. If they return, they must return transformed. You are not being prepared to re-enter the same dynamic. You are being positioned for clarity. And clarity requires mutual effort. There is a shift happening inside you as well. You are no longer waiting from a place of anxiety. You are observing from a place of strength. You have grown quieter, not colder. Stronger, not hardened. You are no longer trying to decode every silence. You are no longer questioning your value. That internal stability is what protects your next step. Whether that step leads back toward them or forward toward someone new, it will not be taken blindly. Chosen one, understand this deeply. You were never meant to prove your worth through endurance. You were meant to reveal your worth through consistency. And you have done that. If this connection continues, it will be because both souls are willing to meet at the same depth. If it transforms, it will be because something greater matches your emotional discipline and spiritual maturity. Either way, you do not lose. Do not let nostalgia weaken your boundaries. Let memory remind you of your capacity, not your longing. Let it affirm that you are capable of loving deeply without losing yourself. That is strength. That is growth. That is alignment. And alignment attracts what is equal. You may soon notice subtle signs. A message that feels different. A tone that carries humility instead of pride. A conversation that acknowledges what was once avoided. Or perhaps you will notice something else entirely, peace about moving forward without them. Both outcomes carry purpose. Both outcomes confirm your evolution. What matters is that you no longer approach love from fear. Continue investing in your stability. Continue protecting your peace. Continue being the version of yourself that loves with integrity. The right connection will not be intimidated by that. It will be strengthened by it. The right partner will not be shocked by your depth. They will be prepared for it. And if this message resonates with something deep inside you, if you recognize your own journey in these words, hold on to that awareness. Stay connected to truth. Stay anchored in growth. There is more unfolding than you can see. The story is not finished. It is transitioning. Because chosen ones do not experience love to be diminished. They experience love to be refined. And the next chapter, whether it restores what was shaken or introduces what is aligned, will reveal why your love had to be this strong in the first place.